Yes? Genoa or Rome? Genoa. Okay. In Italy. All right. So Maharaj, yes, Maharaj is with us. Jai Srila Bhakti Sudhir Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. So we've come together in Gupta Govardhan, Chiang Mai, in the presence of Sri Giriraj Govardhan. And today, everybody, every devotee knows for sure, and every Indian will know for sure, that it is the Ratha Yatra day of Lord Jagannath. And so the culmination of our recent parikramas, all building up to the Ratha Yatra day. And most of you will have seen live, I expect, on YouTube in one way or another, the coverage of Ratha Yatra. And my kind of mini comment is that this year they seem to have very well organized video coverage of the festival. I think last year they perhaps weren't quite ready. They were thinking, oh, it's not going to happen. But this year they're prepared, and they had drones, they had very good mixing, very organized channels. And so this is a blessing to the world, we can say, Jagannath's chariot festival. So we are in Puri. Let us, in Chiang Mai, okay, but in Puri by consciousness, let us first come together, all the devotees who are here. Let us give obeisances to each other as we do when we come together, and then we'll continue from there. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya patitanam pavane vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. And as we've heard, and as I've heard directly from Srila Guru Maharaj's lotus mouth, everything begins with Guru. So let us first also give our obeisances, our respect to our Gurus. So Jai Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Jai Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki Jai. Shri Rupa Guru Varga ki Jai. And all of our present day Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Acharya Brinda ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Jai. And Jai Srila Bhakti Sudhir Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. And we have with us too Srila Bhakti Vigrahanyasi Maharaj ki Jai in our present. And all the other respectable devotees. Not all devotees are respectable. To all the assembled gathering, our jais and respect. So Maharaj, we're in Jagannath.
Ranjan Madhusudan Maharaj ki
Hare Krishna. So we're in Jagannath Puri. The car festival is underway, and until this morning, I know myself, with all this uncertainty, then I wasn't sure it's going to happen until we actually saw, oh yes, here it's taking place, and the deities coming one by one to their carts. And now we know that there's been commentary on the YouTube, but the real commentary of the Jagannath Ratha Yatra, of course, is coming from Guru, is coming from Srila Saraswati Thakur, from Srila Guru Maharaj Gurudev, and our dear Srila Bhakti Sudhir Goswami Maharaj is going to assimilate the gift that has been given to us through Guru to understand the substance of today's program. So Maharaj, I think, without further ado, and without us getting wet from all those fire engines spraying very generously the crowd, we saw, I mean, the crowd means the pandas and the police.
Misting the crowd.
Well, they were heavily spraying them.
That mist.
Mist and more, I think, anyhow.
Yeah, well, I think part of it is the Indian system and Asian system. You put water on the ground to prevent dust from going up in the air, is one reason. And we hear that it did rain, but also, you know, some misting, I like to think. Like when Calcutta, we did Ratha Yatra in 1973, 4, you know, Esplanade, Chittaranjan, like that. And these Marwari sisters, they would send sarbat, like rosewater drinks for the kirtaniyas. And there were other devotees with those pumps, like squirt gun misters, and they were misting rose water upon us. Because it was Calcutta at this time of the year in the sun. You can imagine how hot it is. So when they would mist the rose water in the air, it would come down, was giving us some relief. And also the little sarbat drink, you know, some relief for the kirtaniyas. We hear Mahaprabhu and the devotees. They do have like an intermission break where they go in the garden surrounding and he rests. We'll hear that. And sometimes they take a little fruit. I mean, more than a little fruit, just most unimaginably beautiful, wonderful varieties of fruits beyond our imagination. But that's described by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. And what I wanted to say, begin with, is that in one sense, you could say many, many years. I was thinking about this, and then I realized 50 years, if I had to define how many. So that there's a tendency to think this is a pastime, right? This is a pastime. We hear about this, and everyone likes it. It makes it, you know, it's one of the pastimes, and there are so many pastimes. And I don't mean to decry any other pastimes, certainly, but you can also say, like, what would Krishna do if he came? And if he came very recently, and recently on a time scale would be like 500 years ago approximately. Krishna, whose outward going breath manifests the Vedas. You know, why is Veda Vyas whom he is? He's empowered by Krishna to deliver revealed truth, right? He's also considered an avatar, Shaktivesh avatar, like Bhagawan Badarayani, Bhagawan Badarayana, etc. Sukadev. So, and there's so Vedic literature, like an ocean. The Shrutis, the Smriti Upanishads, and later he does the Vedanta Sutra, the Mahabharata, 100,000, all these different things, like an ocean of Shastra, an ocean of Siddhanta. And we see the different sampradayas in India, and they all have representatives at this festival as well, including Shankara. They're given a prominent position. For those who watch today, you see when the so-called Shankaracharya comes from their mat. Interesting, I found it interesting that one commentator, he said, unlike Gajapati, who's the representative of Pratap Maharaj, he said, who comes to do seva with a broom and also sprinkle sandalwood water in. And he was just making an observation. He said, unlike him, the Shankaracharya, he has no seva. And I thought, hello, you know, Jai Jagannath. There's Pratap Maharaj. Why is that significant? By doing, he's the so-called king, but by doing menial seva, he gets the grace, his raison d'etre, you know, his reason for being is to get the darshan of Mahaprabhu. And think about it. He does this for Jagannath every year. Why is the person who has unlimited access to Jagannath so mad to have the darshan of Mahaprabhu? Right? He's Pratap Maharaj. Every year, he can go every day to the temple. See Jagannath Subhadra Balabhadra. But he's saying, if I don't get the darshan of Mahaprabhu, suicide, my life is useless. Interesting. So again, back to this point. So all these things considered, there's so many different sampradayas, their great acharyas, the great works they've given, the great commentaries they've made, and all of this is appealing at various times in the life of aspiring servitors. But it just occurred to me though, but if Krishna were to come, Krishna himself, because Vedaishta Sarvarahange Vivedo, everything's supposed to take you in the direction of Krishna. Otherwise, it's, you know, wrong way. It's not going in the whatever it is, it needs to be going in the direction of Krishna to have any value or validity or substance to it, right? And we understand there are varieties, as Guru Maharaj says in his almost sutra-like saying, according to the inner necessity of one's heart, an earnest, sincere hankering for truth, that brings one in connection with a certain level of theistic conception and subsequent association. That is all encompassing for everything other than Krishna consciousness, but even within Krishna consciousness, within this whole system, that accommodates everyone. According to your heart's inner necessity, you'll get a certain level of theistic conception and subsequent association. Even within the group of Mahaprabhu, it is there. So, but still, so all these things considered, because devotees find themselves, they find different things appealing at different times. But then it occurred to me, if Krishna came, if Krishna were to come down, what would he do? And then I thought, oh, Krishna did come down. You know, Krishna did descend. Right? He descended as Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So what does he talk about? What is his emphasis? After all, he's Krishna. So you would think he knows how to attract and bring people towards his world. I mean, minimally, we have to accept that, right? That Krishna knows what he's doing is another way to put it, if you don't get what I'm saying. Like, so can we agree that Krishna knows what he's doing? Will we allow him that much, right? So that Krishna, what do we see about him? When you mean Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he can only be Krishna Chaitanya. Why? Because he's come to revive Krishna consciousness, give other people Krishna consciousness. How does he do it? Bahiranga Sanghikori Nama Sankirtan, through Nam Sankirtan. What name is he chanting primarily? Krishna. Right? Krishna. Like we hear one, what does he chant? Krishna, 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 hey. You'll be surprised or not so surprised. No, the next line, Krishna, 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 hey. Then, you know, Krishna, Kesava, Krishna, Kesava, Krishna, Kesava, Payamam, Rama, Raghava, Rama, Krishna, Kesava was the other one? Rama, Raghava, Rakshamam. But anyway, Krishna, Krishna, and what is Guru Maharaj saying? Premadama Stotram, that's the first one I ever heard from Premadama Stotram, sung from Babaji Maharaj. He started going, Yatra Tatra Krishna Nama Dhanaloka Nishtanam Premadama Devameva Nomi Gaura Sundaram. But the first line was Krishna, 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 Krishna Nama Kirtanam. You know. Anyway, so Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. And I said this time, what is that? Where does that come from? And he looks at me, he goes, oh, it's from Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj. It's called the Prema Dhamma Deva Stotram. So that Krishna, what is he? He's mad with Gopi Bhav. Right? What do we hear? It goes on, Gopi Bhava Rasamritam Bilahari. And who are the gopis? They don't care for anything other than Krishna. I mean, if you had to describe them briefly, right? Everything is Krishna. Mahaprabhu, we're told, he's come to embrace Gopi Bhav. And what particular type? Radha Bhav. Who's the, you know, the Pradhan Gopi, the topmost Gopi is Radharani. That's what Krishna seems to be exclusively interested in. Right? So he's descended in the world, you know, Radha Baba Duty Subalita, embraced by the heart and halo of Radharani. What are we talking? You know, the halo, Gadadhar Das, heart, Gadadhar Pandit. sometimes described that way. Right? So that Krishna, and as we heard the other day from Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Saraswati Thakur, Guru Maharaj, that when he said these enigmatic words that shallow thinkers prefer Vrindavan, men of substance will prefer Kurukshetra. It's an enigmatic statement. You're like, what? The whole idea is like Vrindavan. That's but what does he mean by that? We're told, Guru Maharaj said, service according to the intensity of its necessity draws remuneration. Where is Srimati Radha? And our aspiration is Radha Dasyam in the Rupa Nuga line. Where is her greatest service necessity? Kurukshetra. Why? 100 years of separation. For those who can't tolerate the blink of an eye's worth of separation, after 100 years of that, to meet again in Kurukshetra. So that's why Bhaktivinoda Thakur has identified that place. So that is where separation reaches its zenith point. That means by rendering service at this time, you can draw the greatest amount of remuneration. Then, what did I say the other day? 2 points. When I mentioned the Uddhava Darshan, which means, what is, in other words, a code word for Brahma Gita. But that's within the Ratha Yatra. So just doubling down on this concept that this is separation zenith point. Here's where you will draw the greatest remuneration for service in Krishna consciousness. Then we can understand, this is not a peripheral, this is not one of the pastimes. Right? Every year, we're told, Shivananda saying, he's bringing 200 Mahabhagavatas from Navadvip. Right, that famous, with Nityananda Prabhu, and they liberate the dog and the family of Shivananda, all these things, right? From the balcony, the Prataparudra Maharaj, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, seeing all the devotees saying, please describe who they are, right? So every year he's doing that, and they come and stay for around 4 months. And of course, it must be heartbreaking for them to have to go back to Navadvip. I mean, that's, we can't even properly estimate how painful it must be when that time comes for them to return. But the point is, this is the pastime. This is the principal pastime of Caitanya Mahaprabhu and his devotees. So he said, what would Krishna do if he came down? This is what he does. This is the answer to that question. This is what he does. He does this pastime year after year after year, right? After he becomes Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we can say, we're told whether it's 20, 24 years, right? And we should mention, in the last 12, well, they do heavily 18 continuously, 18 to 21. The last 12 years behind closed doors with Swarup Damodar and Ramananda, that Brahma Gita. But where is that? You'll find that's within the Ratha Yatra, from the mouth of Mahaprabhu. That's mentioned when he's before Jagannath. But it's like, so that particular aspect goes behind closed doors because of the confidential nature of what is being expressed there. And he's mining that 24 hours a day for the last 12 years of his life, of his manifest pastimes. So this is not one of the wonderful pastimes that occurs during the year. Remember, we have Janmashtami and Gaura Purnima, their appearance days. Right? Then we say, well, we have Govardhan. Yeah, the Govardhan, that's in the time of Krishna. And so many others on the calendar. But as I said, what would Krishna do if he descended? What would he be celebrating? We'll hear it. He sometimes plays Ram Leela, Krishna Leela, different things with his devotees momentarily. But nothing compares to this, to the Ratha Yatra. And the more we hear about it, we begin to understand why, that it is central to the reason that Mahaprabhu came down in this world. It's not just, again, some wonderful thing they do once a year. It's central to the internal reason for the appearance of Mahaprabhu in this world. Because what is he doing? What do we hear? So back to Kurukshetra. So if Puri is Dwaraka, inside, that means inside the temple compound, then he's coming out, then we have the Kurukshetra idea that Radharani and the Braja Gopis are coming from Vrindavan, meeting the Dwarka king, Krishna, expressing their disappointment at the Rajvesh, the kingly dress, and instead of Brindaranya, they say this place, which would be a forest of Toli, they say, this is a Lokaranya, a people forest, otherwise known as a city. They don't like it. It's not compatible. And people are always going like, why don't they just go to where Krishna is if they're, because they can't leave Vrindavan. Only in this momentary absence, you could say. Because Vrindavan, as we know, it's inseparable from Radha and Krishna. And actually, what are we told? Rupa Goswami, Vrindavanam paritaja swakachit naiva nigachyati. He never leaves Vrindavan, and he will tell them in this Ratha Yatra pastime, Mahaprabhu will express it. He will say, he apologizes and saying, actually, I'm not really in Dwaraka. It's an expansion. By the grace of Narayan, I'm always with you. You think it's a hallucination or you're imagining, or no, I can never leave you. And then they're very happy to hear that. But so this here is the celebration of Srimati Radharani and the Braja Gopis taking Krishna, you can say, with the ropes of love and affection. They're pulling him out of Dwaraka and taking him to Vrindavan. Hare Krishna. As they're doing in that picture. So what does they, and you can see, so if you have the good fortune to pull that rope, what sort of good fortune, if we factor in what Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying, it's incalculable, I think is the word. So, and remember, we're telling, why has Jagannath assumed this form? This is the ecstatic transformation of Krishna feeling separation from Radharani and the Braja Gopis. That's this form, right? And then what do you have? Mahaprabhu as Radharani in front of the chariot. Right. So when, what does it say? Oh, in the first verse, remember the first verse in any chapter, most of Kaviraj Goswami, is really going to tell you something that's going to be revealed later. It's going to come out within the chapter. And here, he said, Paramananda Prabhu mentioned earlier, he's saying, not only were all the people at the festival astonished by what the ecstatic dancing, singing of Mahaprabhu, saying, but Jagannath was astonished. So he's saying everyone else, but Jagannath himself was astonished, and sometimes stunned. And in one place it says, and staring with not unblinking eyes at the what he's seeing before him. Who is he seeing? In one sense, matter of speaking, himself, but himself transformed, right? Enveloped by the heart. What will the heart, being enveloped by the heart, the deep heart's core, in this case of Srimati Radharani, what effect will that have upon Krishna? Jagannath is stunned to observe that. What to speak of others? Like Prabodhananda Saraswati Thakur says in one of his verses, when they would observe this ecstatic dancing of Mahaprabhu, and as we're told, the Kadamba flowers of ecstasy appearing on his divine form, Ganga-like stream shooting out of his eyes like from a syringe, wetting all the people. Sometimes he falls in an ecstatic swoon and foam is coming out of his mouth. It looks like nectar descending from the moon, all these kind of things. Prabodhananda said, everything stopped. Mothers stopped being mothers, fathers stopped being fathers, children, teachers, this, gyanis, everyone just stopped and went, oh my God. And they just directed all their attention to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And we can say, for how long? You know, well, we can study individual cases. But he's just saying, like, just everything stopped. And people, they were just astonished. He said, to see, you know, this strangely wonderful, inconceivable, ecstatic behavior of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, but what are we being told here? Jagannath was astonished to see this. Right? So, and at times, we're told Nityananda Prabhu, remember, he knows when he comes close, then Mahaprabhu shifts to brotherly love and affection. Chaitanya Nitai, Krishna Balaram. So Nityananda, very like humbly, mercifully, generously, he'll keep his distance at times. Sometimes he has to come and grab him to, or try, because they're all worried about him becoming injured from all the ecstatic dancing. But other times, Nityananda Prabhu himself is spun off in his own divine madness. Advaita Acharya, another place, they're principal dancers, they're singers. We know they were divided initially by Mahaprabhu into 4 groups. But we're told in one place, we'll hear later, not at this time, but that Nityananda Prabhu, from it, he looks over and what does he see? There's Mahaprabhu down in front of Jagannath, but he doesn't see Mahaprabhu anymore. He sees Srimati Radharani is dancing in front of Jagannath. Not mood of or in the, you know, he sees Radharani dancing before Jagannath. That's the vision of Nityananda Prabhu as recorded by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. So, and what does Rupa Goswami say in his verse so beautifully? Raso dama kamar budama duradamo jvala tunur jati nam utangshas tarani koti vidyoti basana hiranya nam lakshmi varana vivavan angika rucha sat chaitanya kime punar apidashor yashati padam. That, you know, 10 million cupids in full-blown cupidity, that's the radiance and sweetness of in the form of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And we're told, Kandarpa Koti Kamini Vishesha Soma. If Krishna, 10 million cupids personified as one, that level of beauty and seductive charm. But then if you add to that the inconceivable beauty of Srimati Radharani thing, you combine the beauty of inconceivably beautiful Krishna and inconceivably beautiful Radharani into one person, you'll have to faint. You'll lose your mind. That's beyond what can be conceived. So what does Rupa Goswami say? Sado pasya Sriman Drita Manujakaye Pranayitam Bahadbi Girvane Girisha Paramesha Prabhritibi Brahma, Shiva, the gods. They're coming disguised as human beings to have a glimpse of the beauty of Mahaprabhu. And what does Guru Maharaj say to show his, as Babaji Maharaj said, that quality of Rupa Goswami? We heard that from his Chaitanyastakam. What does Guru Maharaj say? Svarna koti darpanava deho varna gauravam padma parijata ganda banditanga saurabam koti kami murchitangri rupa rasa rangaram prema dama devam eva nome gaura sundaram. So Rupa Goswami said like 10 million cupids in full-blown cupidity to describe the beauty and radiance of Mahaprabhu. What does Guru Maharaj say? 10 million cupids will faint if they see the beauty of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Right. So that Mahaprabhu, he's dancing when the chariots, as we saw earlier today, well, just before that, that what is called Pandu Vijay, this also took like many years to adjust with, because you could say it's technically like, oh, that's where the deities come out and get on the chariot. You know, so you could think, well, how long does that take? A half an hour? No, that takes around 6 hours. It's actually like Dandavat, Subhadra. It's like most of it. Right? So, and you see, and it's when they're bringing like Balaram out and he's wearing this flower crown that has some give to it. So as they move him, and they're on big pads, cotton pads, we hear of like, they're so heavy, the cotton pads like crack, and then cotton would float into the air, and they put ropes around their shoulders and feet, and they rock them back and forth and forward, these big pandas and Balaram's crowns going like this and like that, and you know, and this takes 6 hours for them to come out one by one. Even that has a name. There's one name when they're side by side. There's another name when they go and a one by one, and you know, a single file. They all have names, and as Guru Maharaj might say, they're all persons. We were saying earlier, anyone with a name is a person. The flag has a name. The chariot, Nandi Ghosh, who you see looks like a god with the mustache on it. That's Daruka, Krishna's driver. Each horse has a name. There's subsidiary deities, Giri, Dhari, Govardhan, he's on there. Ram, Nrsinga, Varaha, other, you know, Devis, Shaktis. Every stitch has a name. The ropes are Ananta Dev. The platform is Ananta. The chakras have names. And as Guru Maharaj would say, they're all persons. It's all Chinmoy. Right. Hare Krishna. There's the proof. But so, what is it? Oh, so this Pandu Vijay, or they call Pahandi and Orissa, it takes like 6 hours. When they have to come out, and then they have to ascend the steps of the chariot. Then when they get there, then everything has a name. Then when they turn around, that's another event. Because when they go up, their back is facing forward. So that they turn around, has a name, that's an event. Then that they will be redecorated, new clothes, you know, every part of it. So while this is getting ready or in process, we're told Mahaprabhu from the, you know, the crowd with his devotees, that he's saying, Manima, Manima. And it says, in Orissa, this is like an address to like a Lord, Master, you know. That's what he's saying. And when they're ready to begin in earnest, he starts chanting prayers. After they divide the groups up, what is it, 4 groups? And we know Nityananda, Advaita, Vakeshwara Pandit, and Haridas Thakur, 4 principal dancers, and Swarup Damodar, Srivas Thakur, Raghunandan, singers, then 2 mridanga players in each group, so many responders. So they have 4, then Advaita creates one from Shantipur, Kulina. So they end up with 7 groups. Each one has 2 mridangas, that means 14 mridangas, but they're playing like in unison. It's incredible. It's saying the kirtan's going throughout the universe, because it's also subtle. Right? It's not limited to the jurisdiction of like sounds, whatever you call it here, the atmosphere, how far sound can travel. It's traveling to the upper planetary systems, to Brahma Loka and beyond. And what is the first thing Mahaprabhu was saying? You know, Namo Mahavadhanaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chet. No, excuse me, I'm saying that. He says, Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha Jagat Hitaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Starts addressing Krishna like that very beautifully. Brahmanya Dev, Go Brahmana Hitaya, Jagat Hitaya, Krishna is, you know, the Jagat, you know, Jagannath, Govindaya Namo Namaha. That's the good news at the end about Govinda. Then you can understand that can allow to go in the ultimate direction. And this, the one of the Jayati slokas, but this one famous one after that from the Prayers of the Personified Vedas, 87th chapter of the 10th canto, the longest chapter in the Bhagavatam, Jayati, Jaya, Devaki, Devaki, Janmavado, Yaru Bara Parishad, Swayanira, Dharmam, I always forget, Shrimokena, Braja, Vanitanam, Kamadevam. Anyway, I left out many words, but Jaya, Dev, Janma, what is it that I named someone else? Jana Nivasa. Jaya Jana Nivasa Devaki Janmavado, Yarubara Parishad Swarnira, etc. So this prayer is from the personified Vedas, but it's one of these prayers where it starts that way and it ends with Krishna as Kamadev in Gopi Bhav. It's like in one sloka, covers everything, and again, comes to Gopi Bhav, which is what, again, what Krishna is promoting. When he descends, and as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he's promoting Gopi Bhav. Aradhya Bhagavan Brajesha Tvanayas Tadama Vrindavanam Ramya Kachid Brajavadu Bargena Ja Kalpitai. If you don't believe me, believe Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur. He says that. There's no superior form of worship than that which is conceived by Radharani. That's why her name is Radharani. That's another way of understanding what her name means. The supreme worshiper of Krishna, not of someone else. She can pull Krishna out of Dwaraka and take him back to Vrindavan. She can turn Dwaraka Krishna into Vrindavan Krishna. That is her power. So he's offering these beautiful prayers, and and we're told with the singing and dancing that there's 3 different types mentioned: Udanda Nritya, Tandava Nritya, Madhura Nritya. And Udanda, as the name implies, like a stick, just going straight up and back down again, leaping very high straight up and back down. So Udanda, right? That's what he like. It implies a certain level of excitement. Right? So there's, and he's leaping high into the air, and then comes down, and then leaping high. But then what does he do? We're told he starts spinning. Right? And we've seen those people who do this thing like this and make the thing spin around. I don't know the name for it, but you know, they go like that. They have, okay. But it's with 2 hands. It's not just going like that. They go like this, and then sometimes at night they put fire on it and do that, and it looks like a circle of fire. They're engulfed by a circle of fire or surrounded by a circle of fire. So Kaviraj Goswami said, remember, Mahaprabhu is golden, he's Gauranga. Right? Although sometimes in the ecstasy, his body's turning white. Sometimes it goes from white to pink, then back to gold, many things. His teeth are chattering. Some people think that his teeth are all going to break and fall out of his mouth. It's that intense. When do people do that here? When they're very ill and shivering. When you have a fever, your teeth chattering, you know what I'm talking about? That's when you do it here. When now your body's very cold. That means you have a fever. When you think it's cold, your head's on fire and the teeth start chattering. This is one of them. And then the kadamba flower, hair horripilation, then sometimes turning into golden thorns, right? And all of it. Then, so when he starts spinning, he's spinning so fast that he looks like a firebrand. That's what people say, is just this spinning circle of fire, of golden fire. That's one way he's dancing before Jagannath. Like what sort of current is infused that is, this is the outcome. Then another type of dancing, Tandava Nritya. Where do we know Tandava from? Shiva, right? When his leg is up and that's his dance of devastation, where he's destroying the universe, throwing his hands wildly, you don't know where he's going or what's going to happen, right? That's the Tandava Nitra. It's just uncontrolled madness, right? That's why the devotees are worried. So he goes from Tandava Nitra to this, from Udanda Nitra to the Tandava Nitra, and they're to try and catch Dvaitas coming, Nityananda, they're trying to catch him, they can't, right? But then after some time, Swarup Damodar starts singing, maybe through song can pull him out of that and make him calm down somewhat. Till he transitions to Madhura Nritya. And that, as the name, that's just very sweet swaying and dancing. And it's at that time he starts speaking to Jagannath as Srimati Radharani and saying, Guru Maharaj could quote this whole section, which he did many times. No book, just the whole section. Where he said, Anyara Hridayaman Moraman Vrindavan. For most people, their heart and mind are synonymous, or more or less one and the same. He's saying, Moraman, my mind is Vrindavan. So then we say, aha. So Vrindavan is a construct of the heart of Srimati Radharani. No wonder they can never leave there, and he can never leave there. Who is that Krishna can never leave? Srimati Radharani and Ramananda Sambad, when Ramananda saying to Mahaprabhu, I thought you were a sannyasi, I don't see a sannyasi anymore, I'm seeing Krishna. And Mahaprabhu saying, oh, a Mahabhagavata, we've heard of such vision. Wherever you cast your glance, you see Krishna. So you're looking at me seeing Krishna. And Ramananda saying, no, don't tease me, and I'm not finished. I see Krishna, but there's something else that's very puzzling. There's a golden girl enveloping Krishna. What is this? Yeah. And then Guru Maharaj said, he has to tell him, saying, who is that girl? Radharani, and who can she be with? She can't really be by the side of anyone else other than Krishna. Now you've discovered who I am. I can't conceal myself from your divine vision, Rasa Raj Mahabhav Duyakarup. And then Guru Maharaj said, see how they mingle. And Ramananda fainted. Right? Ramananda Roy fainted. Right? So, and Hare Krishna, there's Guru Maharaj. I remember him saying around that time once, he said, he's going, these things should not be discussed at large. Still I do. And then he was going to say this particular thing, And then he gave like a 45-minute intro before he actually said that thing. But anyway, so Mahaprabhu now very, very sweetly and a charming way is saying, and it's all Radha Bhav being expressed by him in the movement of his hands, his dancing, his speech, and that's where this Uddhava Gita, Brahmar Gita comes in as well. And so one of the things that Radharani is saying, and they always speak by inference. And she's saying, don't you remember like your mother and father? She doesn't want to talk about herself or the Braja Gopi. She's saying like, don't you remember Vrindavan and your mother and your father and the cowherd boys and the cows and the Jamuna and all those things? You know they're dying in separation from you? Is that what you want? You want everyone should die in separation from you. Really? And then you sent this message to me and the Braja Gopis that we should learn yoga, learn how to meditate, or start studying Jnanic scriptures, understanding the temporary nature of life and relationships. We should learn to meditate like God is everywhere and in everything. Krishna, are you not ashamed? You sent that message. And that was supposed to make us happy. You know what the result was? We've never been so angry as when we got your letter. It had the opposite effect. She's expressing, you know, I mean, she obviously must have had like a pep talk from Lalita Saki. You know? And she's telling these things to Krishna. It's also a test. But she's expressing, like, in other words, she's saying, we can't live without you. But she doesn't want to, they never want to mention themselves. They go, don't you miss your mom and dad? They happen to live in the same town, you know. Don't you miss the cowherd boys? Wasn't that fun going in the Vrindavan forest with them? What about the cow? You know, the cows are crying and dying in separation from you. The Jamuna's dried up. You don't want that. You know, they're like trying to get, you know, make Krishna feel guilty is what it is. They want Krishna to feel guilty for what he's done to them. And boy, does he feel guilty. So that Krishna, then he's responding. So, and these verses, Kaviraj Goswami is saying, Mahaprabhu and Swarup Damodar and Ramananda, they're going over these verses like all the time in the Gangbira, over, and they never tire of this, right? Over and over. They want to mind, this is not getting old or it's becoming more tasteful, taking them deeper and deeper into a particular zone, region of heart, that the depth is only achieved in separation. Bahire Vijala Joy Bitare Ananda Moy Krishna Premier Adbhuta Charit. This mysterious, astonishing characteristic of Krishna Prema is in viraha, in separation, the heart achieves its greatest depth and yields the most superior substance. So they're always doing this. And what is the verse? Ahushchitena lina nava padarabindam yogeshware hridi vichintam agada bodhe sangsara kupa patito taranava gehum jusham api manasuryat sadhana. Where Radharani very really saying, learn yoga or become Gyan. Are you kidding? We're cowherd girls. And she says, patito geham jusham patito taranava She in ISK speak, we could say, they're saying, we're fallen householders. That's what she says to them. We're fallen householders and you're telling us to take up yoga and become jnanis. And she said, and Guru Maharaj would say, you know fully well what we want. We want family life with you. When that lady said in the Nat Mandira, Chaitanya Saraswat, Everyone said, what do you like about Krishna? We're being given a chance to have a family life with Krishna. Guru Maharaj quoted that for another 20 years. And that's what Radharani and Braja Gopis are saying. That's what we want. We're fallen householders. We can't do yoga. We're not jnanis. We're not going for that. We want you, and we won't accept anything less than you. And we want your lotus feet back in Vrindavan, which is what? My heart. Vrindavan is the heart, a construct of the heart of Srimati Radharani. And they're saying, and we don't, where is your flute? What kind of Krishna doesn't have a flute? You lost your mind. No flute. And what is this outfit you're wearing? So you're a king? We want you, in the Gopa vase, Gopa Kishore, Venukar, with playing your flute, dressed as a cowherd on the banks of the Jamuna, and the Brindar Aranya, not the Lok Aranya. They give all these demands, actually, non-negotiable demands from the Pran Gopi, Srimati Radharani. And so she states their case, and then what is Krishna going to say? And then he says, Mai bhaktir hibhutanam amritat toya kalpate distyad manashin matsneho babatinam madapana. And he tells them, everyone wants me, either directly or indirectly, but they want me. And if they get me, that's the jackpot, lotto, it's the ultimate, yam labha, chapram labham manyate nadikam tata. There's nothing greater than that to get me. And what is Krishna saying? And it's true. He's not saying this arrogantly. He's stating the facts. If you get him, you get everything, right? And he's including, Paramatma or Vishnu, like everything, because Krishna means all of that. But of course, they want him specifically. They're not satisfied. What to speak of other conceptions of other religions or other conceptions of God? They have no interest in Vaikuntha Narayan. And here, they're practically insulting Dwaraka Krishna. Who are these gopis? And there are leaders, there are gurus. This is the type of exclusive devotion our gurus have, right? Only Swayam Bhagavan at the right hand of Radharani, that Krishna, not even other Krishnas hold their interest. And what does Krishna say? So if they get me, they think they've got everything, and that's true. He said, but what about me? He said, I consider it my good fortune that I am the object of the unparalleled pure love and devotion that is in your hearts. And if I were to give myself to you, like all those who want me, that wouldn't be equitable. It wouldn't be an equal payment for what you've got in your hearts. And I'm the object of that love and affection. I consider that my good fortune. Because everyone's always thinking about themselves. And what about Krishna? And Krishna's saying, this is what I consider of unparalleled value. And Guru Maharaj said, here we truly understand what virtue is its own reward. So Krishna's saying, you made me break my promise. In the Gita, I said, Yeyatam mam prapadyante tam stateva bhajamyaham. That as you surrender me, I reciprocate, and he's saying, now I can't do it because what you've exceeded what I'm able to give to you. And giving my whole self to you would not be sufficient payment. So now you made me break my promise I made in the Gita. So napareham niravadya samyudam slok is there. And Guru Maharaj is saying, then what? So what can Krishna do? He's saying, and indicated in Chaitanyastakam of Rupa Goswami, if he descends as Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, enveloped in the heart and halo of Radharani, then what? Jadi Gaur Nahoita Tabiki Hoita Kamaridori Tam Dehe Radhar Mahima Prema Rasasima Jagata Janatate. Okay, and tells everyone how great is Radharani and the Braja Gopis and Gopi Prem, Gopi Bhav. Like if he descends in the world and becomes their canvasser, he comes to preach about them. So I said, what would Krishna do if he came? This is what he did. He was just here. And he came telling everyone how great is Radharani and the Braja Gopis and their Gopi Prem, their Gopi Bhav. That's what the Krishna consciousness movement is, of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who happens to be Krishna, but Krishna under the influence of what? Radha Bhava Subolita, the heart and halo of Srimati Radharani. So then Krishna tells, and he says, every day I'm crying my eyes out in separation from you. Right? He tells him that. I can't, but I am committed. I'm Akila Rasamrita Murti. I have to reciprocate with all these different devotees. Good news is I have expansions. So it's not really me. I'm with you in Vrindavan, and through my expansions, and Rupa Goswami will explain all that in Lagu Bhagavatamritam, Vilas Murti and, Swayam Prakash, Swayam Vilas, and all the intricacies of, but who's Swayam Bhagavan Krishna, and when he's in this form, he's that, and when it looks like Krishna, but he's in another dham, it's this type. He's saying, but I'm only and always with you. I never leave you for a moment. But it appears that way by Yoga Maya. And when I finish up, like Gurudev would say, I have some job. Like Krishna, he has some job to do, to kill a few more demons and tie some things off. Then I'll rejoin you in Vrindavan. And Guru Maharaj is saying, then Radharani is telling the Gopi, all right, we can go now. Like it's clear, he's always and only ours. Right? Then she's very happy. Krishna reveals his heart to her. And especially he's saying he's crying his eyes out in separations. And you're like, that sounds pretty good. And sincere. He means it. And so she's telling, they can all go. And then we're told that, but the queens of Dwaraka, they wanted to see Rasa Leela. They heard so much about it. And since you're here, Radharani and Braja Gopis, can we see the Rasa Leela? She consents. These are in different places assembled, and they're all astonished when they see the Rasa Leela. And Guru Maharaj said, then Radharani tells him, that was nothing. You should see the original. But anyway, so then what is it? So that this point, so after 100 years of separate, what are they doing? Now they're taking Krishna back to Vrindavan. That's this festival. No wonder Mahaprabhu, he wants to celebrate this every year with all of his intimate devotees. Wherever they are, this is the one time where everybody gets to come, right? And they stay there for 4 months, right? Relishing these pastimes. So, so as he is dancing, all this dancing here and singing, dancing, and ecstatic symptoms, that because it's a prakrita lila. Remember, human life is based, there they are pulling the ropes, based upon Krishna Leela is the template for human, right? Not the other way around. So because it's a prakrita Leela, after all the singing and dancing, they get tired. That's a beautiful thing. We think, no, in the spiritual world, no one ever gets tired. It's not like that. Not in Krishna Loka. They get tired after singing and dancing, or hungry, or need to rest. All these things are very beautiful there. So then we thought Mahaprabhu, finally, when they get him to become relatively calm, he goes into a garden to rest. Oh, we should say, while he was madly singing and dancing, At one point, when he hit the ground, he fell into the arms of Prataparudra Maharaj. And when he came out of his internal trance, and he saw like, oh, I've been touched by a king. Who knows what fate awaits me? You know, it's like overly dramatic. He's saying how polluting it is to get such association. And like Sarvabhauma, the others are going, the Pratad Parudramars is ready to like commit suicide. They're going like, don't worry, that's for others. He wants other people. He's setting an example for sannyasis and how they should deal with materialists. It's not you. Just hold on, Pratad Parudramar. That was a show for other people. And then, so after that, when he goes into the garden and is exhausted from singing and dancing and lies down, we're told that time, then Pratap Parudramars, not in the dress of a king. Remember, he did sweeping in front of the chariot and got that's when the Lord's heart melted. He already had the backing of all the devotees. But when the Mahaprabhu saw him doing this so-called menial service, and remember, what did we hear from Saraswati Thakur? Radharani, Major Domo, all the including sweeping, seva is Radha Dasyam. Then Mahaprabhu was very pleased with him, and it was certain that he was going to get his darshan. But now he goes into the garden, we're told, in the simple dress of a Vaishnava, no royal paraphernalia, nothing. And begins massaging the lotus feet of Mahaprabhu. Right? And while he's doing that, he starts singing the Gopi Gita from the Panchadhyaya, those 5 chapters and the 10th canto, which Gurudev said, interestingly, like when you look at the opening sloka of the Bhagavatam, Janmadyasya yatonvayaditratascha arteshu abhigya swarat, he said, it's like the dance of elephants. Astonishing, but you want to keep your distance. You know, it's not inviting you to come closer. He said, but that same Vedavyas, when he's doing Gopi Gita, these are the songs the gopis sing in separation from Krishna. Right? When that brief period when Krishna vanishes and plunges them in an ocean of separation. Why? To make the union all the more intense and relishable. Because you wonder, why does he do these things? But anyway, so when they're singing that, these slokas, Gurudev said, are like the dancing of peacocks. And they have this internal rhyme scheme every 7 syllables, you know, tava katam ritam, like tava katam ritam, tapta jivanam, ka viviridam, ka masha apaham, swabanamangam, sri madatatam, bhuvi grinanti te, bhuri dajana. Like ta ta ka ka pa ba. It's very beautiful and very intricate. That's what comes from the mouths, the songs of the Braja Gopis, and each verse is like that, more or less, beginning with one Jayatedikam. So he's singing those, and Mahaprabhu very happy to hear that. That's perfectly reflecting the mood that he's in, and he comes to that very verse, Tava katamritam tapta jivanam, saying, Krishna talking about Krishna. This is that life-giving nectarine substance that will put an end to all the miseries of everyone's suffering in the world. Tavakatam tapta jivanam kavibir kalmasha apaham and shravana mangalam. And when you begin hearing about Krishna, that's the beginning of auspiciousness in your life. It's like every last person in the Krishna consciousness movement can testify to this line, that auspiciousness entered your life, our lives, when we began to hear about Krishna. Not other things, not something. When someone said Krishna to you, and that word was in the words surrounding it, Krishna, that went into your ear, Krishna, Krishna Karnamritam, Krishna nectar through the ear. This is what extinguishes the blazing fire of material existence as life-giving, all auspicious. This is it. And who does it come from? No less, the Braja Gopis. All suffering is due to separation from Krishna. Theirs is a liberating type, ours is in forgetfulness. Solution is the same, to hear about Krishna. So when he says, Shravanamangalam, Srimad Atatam, then that the heart enriched with hearing, Krishna hearing, and Krishna glorification is full of incomparable wealth. And you say, Bhuvi Granantite Buridajana. And those who are doing this, who are telling others about Krishna, then they're the ultimate humanitarians, altruists. Those are the people who are doing something valuable in this world. And when he's saying that, Buridaja, Mahaprabhu going, jumps up, going, Burida, Buri, he's like, yes, they're the gift. This is the thing to give, and they're giving it. And then he embraces Prataparudra Maharaj and saying, what you're, like Krishna saying, when what you're giving is so valuable, I don't know what to do other than to hug you and embrace you and express my gratitude for you putting the holy name of Krishna into my ear and into my heart. That's what the Krishna consciousness movement is. Right? Every member of the movement tries to do that on some level by sharing Krishna Katha with others. So many things happen. I mean, after that, when just to conclude, Mahaprabhu comes out so when he comes out of the garden, and also he reveals some Aishwarya stuff for Prataparudra Maharaj, and like, so mystic things for him. But by the time he comes out, the chariot won't move. As we're told before, what Mahaprabhu does when he's expressing the sentiments of Radharani, how you've forgotten us when saying those things, then he'll go to the back of the chariots. And then Jagannath stops, and all three chariots stop. He's saying, I did not forget you. Then he comes to the front again, but then goes to, are you sure? You know, front, back, and many different things. But now the chariots are just not moving. And we're told they bring the king, all the men pulling up, can't get it to move. Bring out the big wrestlers, can't get it to move, the big strong men. Then they bring elephants. They can't, then they start goading the elephants, and the elephants are screaming. They can't get the chariot to move. Then Mahaprabhu waves them all off, puts the ropes in the hands of his own men who aren't pulling, they're just holding the ropes. Then he goes around to the back and puts his lotus head against the back, and then the chariots start moving. And then they go on to Gundicha, and when they do arrive in Gundicha, which is, you know, someone said garden house, what is the garden house? Vrindavan, that represents Vrindavan. And they will stay there, and Wednesday, Hera Panchami, around 10 days from now, the return, Ratha Yatra. But what I wanted to say too, while there's still time, is that as if it couldn't have any more significance, you know, that this day is the birthday of Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat. So Guru Maharaj says, and on this day, in 1942, he'd been there for around a year, here, there, you know, he says, according to Guru Maharaj, on this day, the Ratha Yatra day, 1942, I entered the hut and started Chaitanya Saraswat Mat, and he put up that big bamboo pole with the flag flying. So we try to mean that tradition here, like yesterday, Umada Prabhu, we have to really thank you for that. He went and we changed the flag once a year. So he did it yesterday. So now the flag of Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat is flying. And so a little while back, because I am familiar with Guru Maharaj's talks, I assembled a little compilation called The Flag of Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Math. But meaning, what does it represent? And I'm not going to read the whole thing, it's long, but this is an excerpt from it where the founder Acharya of Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Math, namely Om Vishnupad, Srila Bhakti Rakak, Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj, I say here, describes his vision of the Math he founded. Because sometimes we hear so many things, then like we'll say, well, what does Guru Maharaj say the Chaitanya Saraswat Math is? Right? As I said, that Krishna should be accepted when he says certain things, like everything. Then Guru Maharaj, if he's telling you what Chaitanya Saraswat Math is, you can understand that that's what it is, or what it aspires to be. He's the person who said, an institution is founded to promote an ideal. You make an organization or an institution to promote an ideal. So according to him, what is the ideal upon which Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Math is founded? So I refer to the Math Pranam as the conceptual architecture of the Math. And in there, it's Srimat Chaitanya Saraswata Matabara Udgita Kirtir Jayasrim Bibrat Sambati Ganga Tata Nikata Navadvipa Kuladiraje Yatra Sri Gaura Saraswata Nirata Gorata Grananti Nityam Rupa Nugasri Kritimati Guru Gauranga Radha Jitasa. Then Srila Guru Maharaj, he says, please cooperate. All right. Okay, here we go. The flag of Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Math flutters high, high in the over sky. That's poetic. He means outer space. That's how high it goes, into outer space. In Navadvip, on the banks of the Ganga, Chaitanya, where did I get, I call it Chaitanya, where did I get that name? From Chaitanya Math of Gaudima, and Saraswata, from Saraswati, our Gurudev, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, so Chaitanya Saraswata. The knowledge that has come from Chaitanya Dev up to Saraswati, our Guru Maharaj. Propaganda within that era, we are to revere, accept, and preach. The angle of vision of our Guru Maharaj, Saraswati Thakur, about Sri Chaitanya Dev, how Srila Saraswati Thakur has seen with his divine eyes. That is what is available here. We are concerned with that. From Caitanya Mahaprabhu to Saraswati, our Guru Maharaj. This is the Guru Parampara. The whole is covered, considered, cultured, and being preached or spread. That is Chaitanya Saraswat. Hare Krishna. Chaitanyanuga, Saraswati. Another meaning of Saraswati means Vani, Vakya, words, expressions of Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Vani, the real preaching, instructions of Sri Chaitanya Dev, his words. That may be the meaning here. Chaitanya Vani, really from Chaitanya to Saraswati. The culture of Bhagavatam as viewed by Sri Chaitanya Dev and his followers up to Saraswati. That is our object. That is the theme of our life. That is the purpose of our life. Our parichoy, our identification, nature, acquaintance is there. Who are we? No, when he said it, it means, who are we? Those who say they're members of Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Math. That's what he's talking about. Who are we? We are so-and-so. They are our masters. We're the servants of that group. We want to revere them, to propagate them, to ask people to accept them. Our whole concern is there. Chaitanya, Saraswat, Saraswat, Chaitanya. And as usual, Gaur Haribol, Gaur Haribol, Gaur Haribol. What distinguishes Chaitanya Saraswat? How it is modified by Chaitanya Dev, the line of Bhagavatam, what he has spread. Amongst all the acharyas, Sri Chaitanya Dev preached about love divine, clearly and in a developed way, in a scientific way. Only Sri Chaitanya Dev preached the fifth end of life, Bhagavad Prem. The end of life is to acquire love, affection, attraction for God or Godhead, for Krishna. Krishna is the Lord of love, and he is the innermost conception of Godhead. The highest conception of Godhead is Krishna, and Jiva can have relation with him, that of love. And that is the highest achievement of all souls ever known come to the world. So, Chaitanya Saraswata, not other Saraswata, Chaitanya Nuga Saraswata, followers that belong to the school of Sri Krishna Chaitanya, who believes in Krishna and the consciousness of Krishna, the believers of Krishna consciousness. The flag fluttering high over the sky means to have control over the whole globe. So it flutters high to control. Udgita Kirtir Jayasrim. Bibrat, singing the glory, and it's capturing the whole world by Sri Chaitanya thought. And what is that? Rupanuga Sri. Their object is to enter into that loving service, which is directed by Sri Rupa in the camp of Srimati Radharani, Radha Dasyam. That is the wealth of their heart. That is their aim. And they are following the method of Sri Chaitanya. And their flag is flying high over in the sky on the banks of the Ganga in Govardhan. Gupta Govardhan. That is what is shown in this sloka, the Mat sloka of Sri Chaitanya, Mat Pranam of Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat. When I was establishing this Mat, there was only a thatched cottage, and I, myself, was cleansing the clay and dirt with my own hand. At that time, this was composed, came through me. I had some inner thought that Mahaprabhu is accepting my service from such a lower level, cleansing the clay and the earth, all these things. But there is some future grant. It portends some future resourcefulness. This place will be of high order. He is accepting service from my own hand. That was my feeling at the time. I composed that. Somehow it came. And one very tall bamboo was put there, its flag fluttering above, and that gave some inspiration to me. Udgita Kirtir, its glory is sung high in the sky. Jaya Srim Bibrat, and it is holding the victorious color with it. Jai Srim Bibrat, the victorious resources, floated by this fluttering of the flag, which is so high, posted in the over sky in outer space on the banks of the Ganga and Navadvip, that it may have such potentiality. And I've inserted here to remind, Urjeswari is the name of Radharani. Jai Sri. Urja means resources. She commands all the resources, the Shakti, the power, all the resources culminate in her. Then Ganga Tata Nikata Navadvipa Koladri Raje. Location of the place is Govardhan. Koladvip, Koladri Raje, king of mountains. Koladri, mountain on the banks of the Ganga. It is glittering there. And what is the function there? Yatra Sri Gaura Saraswata Mata Nirata, who are really followers, Gaura Saraswati. From Sri Gauranga to Saraswati has come that flow. They have got faith in that. Gauragata Grananti, singing the glories of Sri Gauranga to the world. Those that are devoted in the cultivation of the grace of Gauranga, Gaura Saraswata, from Gauranga, that came through, interpreted by Saraswati, our Gurudev, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Gaura Saraswata, who engages himself fully in that opinion, that idea, and that thought. Matta Nirata Gauragata Grananti, and that quality of glorification of Sri Gauranga, that flow of Gaur-Katha, they're singing here. And what is their object? The aim of their life? Srimad Rupanuga Sri Kritimati, Rupanuga Bhajan, Madhura Rasa, Radha Anugata, Krishna Bhajan, that is their aim. With that intention, they're singing the Sankirtan of Sri Gauranga. And their aim is there. Nityam Rupanuga Sri Kritimati Guru Gauranga Radha Jitasa. Their only hope is that one day they will be able to reach the destination. They will be able to serve Sri Radha and her beloved. That is their aim. And Gaura Sankirtan, their object is to attain their highest position in the Rupanuga service in the camp of Srimati Radharani. Their mentality is there and their activity is here. In a very dignified way, the flag is fluttering there high up in the sky from the Ganga on the summit of Govardhan Giriraj. And it was then only in a college I wrote this, 42 or so, and now it is 1983. He says, 40 years ago, that came through my pen, then turning to all of us. So your aim at present, that this will be here, and you will try to distribute this Gauravani from here to the world. That is the divine arrangement, and I keep it on my head. Activity under the guidance of Sri Gauranga, and our object is the camp of Radharani, Radha Govinda's service, guided by Srila Rupa Goswami, the line of Sri Rupa. Who are we? From Chaitanya Dev to Saraswati Goswami. That flow of instruction is our base, and our stay is in Govardhan, the Aparad Bunjaner pot. That was the idea. It came from the inner compartment of my heart, and I produced it in that way. My hope, some mystic hope or ambition, whatever you might say, that mystic something made me write this. So who made me write this? And who supplied this thought in Bhaktivinoda Thakur? His prophecy, that will guide you. And then this is the last part. And he says, it may not come by the lips to the ear, but heart transaction. Tene Brahma Hridaya Adikavaye, transmission from heart to heart. Brahma to Krishna, gave this first knowledge to Brahma, the creator, through the heart. Then Brahma Veda was given to Brahma, creator of the world, through the heart, inspiration, not coming from the lip to the ear. Bhagavatam says this transmission, this transaction, this flow of heart to heart. Otherwise, the ears cannot catch and the lips cannot produce. That's what Srila Gurumar said about his Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat, which he founded on this Ratha Yatra day, and the Aparad Bunjaner Pat and Sri Gupta Govardhan in Navadip Dham in 1942. Hare Krishna. And I just wanted to conclude by saying Madhusudan Maharaj, he is with Gurudev many times, and Puri. At this time, I was there once with Srila Gurudev, and I'll say this, that it's sort of the dream of every devotee. You say once in a life, at least, to go to Vrindavan, go Navadip Dham Parikrama, Jagannath Ratha Yatra. I'd never had that opportunity. I'd visited Jagannath Puri, but never had the opportunity to see the Ratha Yatra. So this particular year was there with Srila Gurudev, and it's going, we're staying where he stays, which you saw in the picture before. And this is before YouTube broadcast and all that. So we're listening on the radio to the broadcast. But I can hear off in the distance the actual celebration going on, not the radio, but I can, and so, and I just thought, I was just smiling to myself. I thought, at that time I was thinking like, well, 30, 40 years. And like, I'm so close, but I thought, I'm just happy to be with him. But it's like, a half a mile away or something. But I thought, I feel no compulsion to go. I'm just happy with him. And when he hears the slokas on the radio, they start a line, he'll finish it. And very delightfully in a very divine, happy mood. He's listening there. And one devotee came to him and said, "Oh, Maharaj, can I have your permission to go join?" And, you know, and Gurudev, "Yes, Prabhu, you can." You know. And then, and I'm again laughing to myself. "Ah." And then Gurudev turned to me and goes, "Maharaj, you've been." And I said, "No, Maharaj, I've never been." And he said, "Oh, then you can go. You go 15 minutes and you come back, you know, like." And I was like, "Oh," you know, like now I'm sanctioned, you know. And that was a big difference. It's better to wait 30 years and get the higher Vaishnavas order than to go on your own. But anyway, so I go there and I'm completely bewildered. Right? So I go to the Singadwar, the gate, and there's nobody there. And I'm like, what's, you know, you hear all 1,000,000 people and, you know, and I'm, the gate, it's totally empty. And I can't understand what's going on. And then like Aranya Maharaj, Haricharan, they start like coming back and they're like, "No, Maharaj, you go." Like they're pointing, you know. And so I start walking down the Grand Road, Adi Pallavi, as Rupa Goswami, and then I start hearing some more sound, and then I say, "Oh, there's some people around the corner," you know. Then like, there they are. Those are those the people around the corner. So I went like, oh, there's a lot of people around the corner. And as I keep going like, this looks like, you know, 10, 20, 100, like half of it's 1,000,000 people. Oh, you know, and so I make my way to the side and there's like electric pole, light pole with some cement base. And I kind of like, there's this one chariot, I'm not sure who it is because I'm just completely bewildered, you know. So I walk and I look and I see there is Lord Jagannath, right? And it stopped and he's there. And just like it says in Chaitanya, look at that his eyes are going like this, that he's going like that, looking at everyone. And I said, oh my God. You know, so I gave my dandavats and they said, you can come up and like touch the rope or something. I was very happy. And then I thought, I better go back to Gurudev like right away. But, and remember, Madhusudan Maharaj kept saying the other day, like, when we do these little parikramas, hopefully no one will get lost. So one devotee from Venezuela, we have our kirtan, there, you know, there are all these different kirtan groups. And this one devotee, he just got pushed into another group. But because you're like this, and he's in this other group, he just got carried away. Like he could never, it took him a long time to get back to our group because he had no control over his body. It was just being pulled along with this other group. And then we thought, like, that's the power of association. Like if you're surrounded by good association, even somewhat reluctantly or with hesitant or whatever it might be, you'll be carried to the right place. But with that in mind, and just to conclude, and I'll turn it over to you, Madhusudan Maharaj, right now, that, and Gurudev had a VIP, a pass, and when they were at Gundicha, the three chariots stay outside the Gundicha. They actually enter tomorrow. I don't know if that's the original, but that's what they do now. And we went there with Srila Gurudev. And that's the only time in my life, in his older years, that I saw him like Shastanga Dandavats in the sand before Jagannath and the deities. Not just this, or like and it was just an extraordinary experience to be bathed in the vision of Jagannath Subhadra Balabhadra and the presence of his divine grace, Om Vishnu Pad Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj. Yes, Madhusudan Maharaj, please.
Yes, please, Maharaj. What can I say? After all of you, all that you've given out, Maharaj, and I was so happy to hear about the birthday of Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat. This will bring great joy to Gurudev. This will bring great joy to Guru Maharaj to make that spotlight, because this is indeed an important day for the Jagannath Ratha Yatra. And Gurudev pointed out it is a very important day to start something too.
Yeah.
And I believe it is on this very day he received Harinam initiation in Jagannath Puri, in the association, from Guru Maharaj.
Yes.
On the very first Ratha Yatra that he came with Guru Maharaj to Puri.
Yeah.
But Maharaj, you're asking my being with Gurudev Srila Govinda Maharaj in Puri on the Ratha Yatra. And Maharaj, I honestly can say my situation was as the servant of Gurudev, and simply I am beside him and honestly thinking, what is Gurudev seeing when he is standing in front of the cart? And my duty, one of the duties was to drive Gurudev. So we would drive, and I've been there maybe 4 times with Gurudev, means driving him, being in front of the cart, and standing with Gurudev. And as you said, Mark, maybe the only time that I've seen doing full dandavat on the ground. But Gurudev standing there and silently and like so pleasantly expressioned, standing in front of the cart. And I honestly am thinking, what is Gurudev seeing? Because we've read about the deity, we've read about what does Mahaprabhu see, what we see, and what Mahaprabhu sees. These are quite different things, as Guru Maharaj says, and you have pointed out in previous talks on the parikrama that what we see is an awkward figure, somewhat awkward figure, but Mahaprabhu is seeing something quite different. And simply, I can say, Maharaj, that being with Gurudev, it is always a humbling experience, and humbling to the extent we are standing beside someone who has some special or the special vision to see everything that I cannot see, and then just feeling like completely the speck of dust, but able to thankfully have a little service at his lotus feet. And 1 year then Jagannath, he stopped on the way, and I feel it happened more often previously that Jagannath didn't make the whole journey, because I seem to remember maybe 3 or 4 times that will he make it or not? And it was maybe a 50-50 chance. And one of the years when I was there with Gurudev, then Jagannath didn't make it all the way down for some reason. In fact, I think one of the carts made it, one of the deities made it, and the other 2 were on the way in different places. And that time also in the evening, in the night, evening, not night, evening, but it was dark, then drove Gurudev. And as you mentioned, Gurudev had some special pass to come onto that main road with the car, which is not regular. But we were able to do this, and then came with Gurudev on the way. And this also was a very sweet experience. But Maharaj, I can honestly say, I can just feel blessed that I was able to be there with him and to witness Gurudev's own santushta. The word comes to mind, that satisfaction and just joy at being there, his joy and satisfaction being present before Jagannath. And he always instructed us, when I come before Jagannath, I'm simply saying, I'm here. I'm here, please see me, I've come in service. And Gurudev always saying, I'm not asking anything from Jagannath. We are not coming with that mood to him. I'm here for his service. Please see me.
Hare Krishna.
My not even a cent worth, my few cents worth compared with your cause of rupees worth.
Jai Shri Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki jai. So Bhakti Dev Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Jagannath Ratha Yatra ki jai. Jagannath Subhadra Balabhadra ki jai. Jai Go Premanande.
Hari Hari Bo.
Hari Oraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha. Hari Haraya Namo Krishna Yadavaya Namaha Yadavaya Madhavaya Kesavaya Namaha Gopal Govinda Ram Madhusudan Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohan Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Chandra Garadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jai Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Sri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunath Echai Gochai Kori Charana Bandhan Jaha Hoite Vignanas Avista Puran Echai Gochai Dharmui Tarodas Tankabada Padareno Moda Panchagas Kandara Charana Sevi Bhakta Sanivas Janame More Avilas Echai Gochai Jabe Braje Koilovas Radha Krishna Nitya Lila Gauri Lokakan Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavan Sri Guru Vaishnava Pade Majai Aman Sri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koriyan Harinam Sankirtan Kohe Noro Tamodan Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nitai Gaur Hari Bo Hari Bo Hari Bo Gaur Hari Bo Nitai Gaur Hari Bo Hari Bo Hari Bo Gaur Hari Bo Jai Sri Jagannath Ratha Yatra ki Jai Sri Jagannath Subhadra Balabhadra ki Jai Sri Jagannath Puri Dham Online Parikrama ki Jai Purushottam Kshetra ki Jai Nilachala Chandra from Jagannath Swami Ki Jai. Jagannath Swami Nayana Patagami Bhava to me. Hare Krishna. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahanda Parivrajaka Charja Satar Sada Shri Srimad Silbhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Silbhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Bhagavan Silbhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Saparikar Sri Sri Guru Gauranga Gandharva Govinda Sundar Ju Ki Jai. Shri Giriraj Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Rupanuga Guru Varga Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Govinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navadip Dham Ki Jai. Shri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Shri Gupta Govardhan Ki Jai. Ganga Devi Jivana Devi Bhakti Devi Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Om Vishnupad Vishva Varanyas Vilasi Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat Acharya Brenda Ki Jai. Jai Srila Bhakti Vinod Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Srila Bhakti Ranjan Madhusudan Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Sri Pad Bhakti Vigrahanyasi Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Sri Pad Bhakti Sevan Rishikesh Maharaj Ki Jai. I can't see it, but Bhakti Sri Asraya Dandi Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Sriman Paramananda Prabhu Ki Jai. Sri Bhakti Lalita Devi Dasi Ki Jai. Seva Brenda Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhakta Brenda Ki Jai. Nitai Go Premanande.
Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
Hare Krishna Jai Subhakti Ranjan Madhusudan Maharaj Ki Jai. Madhurananda Prabhu Ki Jai. Shanti Mohi Devidasi Ki Jai. The Vila Govinda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shama Sundari Didi Dandavat. Rishikesh Maharaj and associates there, Dandavat. Chaitanya Nidhaya Prabhu in Vrindavan, Dandavat. Rupa Vilas Prabhu in the Philippines, Dandavat. Dhananjaya Prabhu, Chaitanya Mohi Didi in Rome, Dandavat. Govinda Nandini Didi, Dandavat. Sri Hari Prabhu in Brazil, Dandavat. Devashish Prabhu, our secretary of our London Mat, Dandavat. Praneshri Didi, Dandavat. Kumkum Didi, Dandavat. Sri Lekha Didi, Dandavat. Banavi Didi, Dandavat. Very nice to see you. Tonks, Ekadashis, Subhada, and others, and their beautiful Guru Gauranga, Radha Madan Gopal Ji Ki Jai. Damayanti Devi Dasi Ki Jai. Pandita Dasi Devi Dandavat. Nityananda Ram Prabhu in Colombia, Dandavat. Divya Shakti Didi, Dandavat. Hare Krishna. Sugandha Kanti Didi in China, Dandavat. Hey, Hare Krishna. Maha Mantra Prabhu, Dandavat. And Gokula Taruni Mandala Mohite, Dandavat. She's in Abkhazia, I think. Well, in that part of the world. Bijoy Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat. He's in London. Ananta Shays Prabhu in Spain, Dandavat. Lalita Priya Didi, Dandavat. There's Leela Sundar Das Brahmachari in Kiev. And Keshwananda Prabhu. Hey Krishna.
Vrindavan Chandra.
Is it?
Yeah, Vrindavan Chandra in between.
Vrindavan Chandra Prabhu, Dandavat. Madhavi Didi, Dandavat. Sandeep Krishna Prabhu and Maheshwari Didi, Dandavat. Abhiram Prabhu, Dandavat. Jai Shri Didi, Dandavat. Is she in Italy? Or where?
Jai Shri, yes.
Oh, no. Dandavat. Odarja Leela Didi in Ukraine, really. Dandavat. Yuvati. Hey Krishna. She's a Chiang Mai alumni. Adivasi. Ajita Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat. Seva Rupa Didi in South Africa, Dandavat. Indumukhi in China, Dandavat. Nityananda Das here. Rupanuga in Australia. Prafula Krishna Prabhu in Brazil, possibly. Sulakshana is here. Priyanana here. Chandrakanti in China. Ashita Roy. That sounds like a Bengali name. Anindita, as in China, perhaps, thing, Dandavat. Gaurachandra Prabhu, Dandavat. Another Ajitasha, Dandavat. Dhananjaya Prabhu and Rasha, Dandavat. Jamuna's here. Somasham Prabhu and Orsk, Dandavat. There was his Japamala doing Nam Sankirtan. Hare Krishna. All right. Satyavamadidi, Dandavat. Damodar Prabhu, Dandavat. Is that it?
Yes.
Okay. Again, we know Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, what do you give, like 2,000 Dandavats to Vaishnavas every day. So at least a few times a day we can say, Vancha Kalpatribhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Jagannath Shami Nayana Patagami Bhavatume. Hare Krishna.
Jai Srila Bhakti Sudhir Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Dandavat to all devotees. Hari Bol, Hari Bol.